Right, bit of an update. First up, this on the lift, the little jars. I just want to show you a few things. When I switch the camera, a few things on that before we get to the Kia. So it's pretty much a new car. I very much doubt it'll have more than 10,000 miles on. If it has, I'd be surprised. But I just thought we're just doing a winter check on it. These are the people who do things right and they listen to our advice. So obviously it comes in, it's been going to the dealer the last few years. It'll be due to start coming to us. But as you can see, we've gone round and wax oiled all the bits that needs done. But it's just what you don't get in the dealers. You get nothing. In fact, as we already know, you're lucky if you even get what you pay for sometimes. But we're just going around doing the pipes, as you can see up there behind that drop link, wax oil and the brake pipes. So I want to show you now how I said before in the video, it's got these fancy LED headlamps on it. What a stupid place to put that. Look at that. It's the first point. This sensor here, behind it, and a little tiny plastic drop link. The first thing, if you're going along a bit of a rut or something, or you hit something, that is the first point of contact. Even if it was at the back of the wishbone, the other side would be a bit better. But you just know that. And trust me, these things are very, very expensive. I know that because I've priced them up before. So yeah, a bit of a daft place to have that. So in the way. It's the first point. If you go along, even under here, if something scrapes along there, that is far, far lower. So yeah, a bit of a daft idea. And there'll be another one at the back somewhere, more than likely, which they always put them in the worst possible place. There you go. There's a better view of it. And these things always seize up and jam up, and then you get loads and loads and loads of warning lights coming up on the dashboard. I should have explained what these do. Them LED headlamps, they're what you call active lamps. So when you've got a load in the boot and the back end sags down, it lifts the lights up. Or if you're going up and down a hill. So basically, with one at the back suspension, one at the front, the computer knows the angle of the car at any given time to be able to adjust the lights up and down so you're not blinding people. Good in theory, real life, nothing but hassle. But I did just want to show you, these are, when you do your MOT course, you have to be inspected by, do an exam in front of an inspector. And you can pick your own car. So you could get, say, for example, like that Audi A6, what I had, with 1 million arms underneath to check. 8 arms on the front, then drop link, then bushes, ball joints, you name it, 4 ball joints at each side. Or you pick something like this, and you know what it is? You can literally sit down and have a cup of tea when you're MOTing. Because have a look at this. You're meant to inspect the underneath of this car. All the engine and subframe is covered. You're not allowed to remove them. You can shove your light like that and look into them as best as you can. You can see the cat here, a little tiny bit of the floor pan. And the whole underneath of the car is covered. So you can't check nothing. You can check around the back of the suspension. Around here and everything obviously as normal, but it's nice and simple. One spring, shocker, beam axle, no multiple arms. So really all you're checking is the bushing at the bottom of the shocker. The shocker isn't leaking. The springs aren't broken. You have a look at the bush in the axle, which 9 times out of 10, apart from coming to this angle, you can't really see them, but there, that's it. Get a little lever in that, check for any play. You can't even see any perishing or nothing. And job done, you're pretty much finished. With an Audi, you're on 20 minutes at each side, checking every arm, because as you know, one side of the arm's a ball joint, the other side's a bush. You've got to jack them up in all sorts of weird, wonderful positions to check playing different upper arms, lower arms. Oh, you name it. So yeah, lovely little car this, if you ever want to do an MOT inspection. Yeah, even the MOT examiner, they probably know you're pulling the crafty one, and it can be any age of car. So like this, brand new, pretty much nothing to really, suspect or have to give yourself a headache. They're nice and simple, apart from the headlamp system. And those cats there are a favourite for the scrap men to nick, which they're in such an easy place. You just get in there, cut, and they're honestly worth £500, £600, £700, £800. I'm not joking there either. So yeah, that's that anyway. Just wanted to quickly show you. Just in for a winter check, getting bits of wax oil, tyre pressure oil, all the rest of it. These people like to keep on top of things, which is the right way to be with your car. Onto this, Kia Venga. I've just put it onto Love or Hate. And a guy put on, he likes them because it's called the Venga Boys. It makes you laugh. It does, actually. Genuinely speaking, when I see that name of that car, the Venga, straight away, for some reason, the Venga Boys crops to mind. But yeah, bit of an interesting name. But what we've done is, like I mentioned to you, my scanner decided since its last update not work, so I'm using my old blue point. Does the job, scanned it, and it come up as cylinder cylinder 3 misfire detected. First up, the injector is something you need to be aware of, but unless I know when injectors go, it's all the time they're misfiring. Coil packs and spark plugs are intermittent on temperature in drive load. So we'll have a look. I've took them out. So yeah, we'll go with the engine cover off there, and there's the 4 plugs out, rammed underneath this thing here. So they're out and they're on there, and they're absolutely knackered. So I'll show you them against new to old. I've got new parts ordered. There's your old one. They never seem to want to focus. There's your old one. I need to put them onto something to show you where it'll zoom in. And the new one, the gap is absolutely massive, the difference in them. So for a start, like I've told the lady, we'll do cylinder 3 coil packs, the individuals, but the plugs are absolutely knacked. Don't know how well that'll zoom in, but the electrode, and that's not the worst one I've picked up either. You can see the gap and the difference. So straight up, that alone will be causing a misfire. Normally I would try the plugs, but it's the fact that it's so specific to cylinder 3 and all the other plugs are in the same condition. But first, you've just got to do a little bit of investigation work, basically. So what I did was, like I explained to the lady, some cars have a coil pack that does them all. Some cars have singles like this, which is a better idea. And the first thing I picked up was, I had a look in cylinder 3 that I took out, which is this one. And like I keep telling you guys, keep them in order. See, I've got them in order. 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't just chuck everything across. It's what I call an organised mess. I work very organised. I tidy up as I go. And when the job's done, up to now, touch wood, I rarely lose things, leave things, mix things up. Just keep them or mark them with a pen so you know. But what I did notice is number 3 is the original Hyundai Kia. Just another one for people out there. Like I keep telling people, Hyundai Kia are the same company, same engine, same everything, like VAG, Citroen and Peugeot, all the rest of it. But they're on next to it, number 4, unbranded, because it's been changed. Number 2, unbranded, and number 1, Kia and Hyundai. So that even more points to the fact of that's an original. It doesn't mean that the other ones can't fail, but more than likely the original with 100,000 mile on is failing. So I've ordered in. That's the only quality I can get. The Hala one. Everyone's heard of them. They make lights and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if these were Hala on here. So yeah, there's this replacement Hala one to go in. But what I am going to make an advisory to the lass, if she gets it back in another multiple misfire, comes back, this is the only one we've got left, Kia and Hyundai, which is cylinder 1. So I've made an advisory that cylinder 1 is the only original coil pack remaining. In an ideal world, you'd probably change that to do them all, but it's not. There's been no fault to put the cylinder 1, so we'll leave that be. So there we go. Set of new plugs in. Cylinder 3, new coil pack. Job done for that. But what I did when I was noticing when I was working, I was thinking that coolant tank looks empty. So yeah, it's empty. Then you've got your main radiator. Well, it's not actually the radiator. It's like the expansion area. That is dry as well. It isn't head gasket or anything because the spark plugs are burning fine. But you did tell us as well it burns a lot of oil and it's quite tappy and rattly, which I'll show you when I start it up. It is, but these engines do get tappy and rattly after 50,000 mile. And this has got 100,000. And it is normal for them to use a bit of oil. So I've topped the oil up, only half a litre. She keeps on top of that. She's a new customer, so I don't really know what oil she's used. What I am going to do, I've got it out on there. I've got some antifreeze. I'm just going to fill it up from this point first. Fill the expansion tank up, top the oil up by half a litre, new plugs, new coil pack, and I'll join you back when we fire it up. It wasn't misfiring when it come in, I must admit, but coil packs pick and choose their times under load when they go. So that hopefully is going to be a nice. These are jobs I enjoyed doing. Bit of investigation work involved, bit of common sense to apply to it. Not massive bills for the customer because that coil pack wasn't a lot of money. Spark plugs are actually quite expensive. I think they're over 12 quid each, and they're not even platinums. That's expensive. But yeah, it's good work, enjoyable work, bit of investigation. Customers happy because you're giving them back genuinely a car that's running better. And you can't really ask for any more, can you? The only other thing I am going to do, in case it is injector related, but it's not, I'm pretty sure it isn't, is stick a fuel additive in, Normfest 1, the German quality stuff. Stick a fuel additive in just to give it a bit of a clean out. And as well, I've noticed the pressures are looking a little bit on the low side. But do you know what it is, guys? I've said this from the start when I first started out at 16 working here. You can charge somebody 700 to 800 quid, £1,000, right, doing a head gasket. naturally, when the car broke down, it stopped. But you tend to find if you do a head gasket, a sudden head gasket, a clutch, even a clutch, they're quite a good job because the pedal feels better. But even on these new cars with hydraulic and everything, you can fit a new clutch and they don't feel a great deal different. Timing belts, all this stuff, you spend all that money and you get the car back and it just drives exactly the same and you think, oh, I've spent all that money for nothing. But it sounds really stupid. Simple job like this, just to do the tyre pressures, makes that car, it'll drive better, it'll handle better, it'll have more power because the tyres aren't flat, it'll get better miles per gallon. So as part of servicing, checking and stuff like that, I always do tyre pressures because it's for customer satisfaction. I'm the same. When I spend money, and like I've just spent money on the loft, I'm like, you go up there and you think, aye, champion, great, it's well worth spending. But if I'd spent £1,000 on my roof, getting maintenance done, not the fact it was leaking, you'd be sat in the house on a night time going, oh, just spend £5,000 or £6,000 on the roof. I know you haven't got drips coming on your head, but you know, it's that little thing, it's satisfaction of spending money and getting something back in turn where you can enjoy it. You know, it's like just something free of charge to an extent of just topping up tyre pressures as part of a job. The customer drives the car away and they think, I don't know how or why, but my car just seems to be driving better since you've done that. Well, that's why. I'm not conning anybody. I'm not charging them any money for it. It's just customer satisfaction. Little things like that. So, yeah, things like that I do around cars for people, which I know it genuinely does work. But anyways, I'll get back to you when this is built up and we'll start it up and we'll see where we're at with it. Right, hello guys. I've never had 5 minutes to give you an update. It's nearly 5 o'clock, 3:30, and that's my dinner sitting on there. Just about to have it, and a few biscuits. And do you know what it is? A can of cheap pop. Never even had a drink of pop the day. I put water or nothing. I had a few cups of coffee, and that's been it. Right, my pal Darren's been around. Thank you for giving us a little bit extra. I keep telling him I don't want any money off him, but he always likes to help us out. He's got a Focus which has just left, and he's had a DPF clean put in. Highly recommend this stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. So we'll put that in there. You know what to do. Down the DPF pressure sensor tube into the DPF, and it's smoking like an old Smoky Joe there now, but it's part of obviously the cleaning process. And he's away out now, giving that a regen and a good clean out. Be interesting if he sends us a video of a smoke screen behind him. He's actually got cameras in his car, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does shows, because I honestly did think I had broke my Seat when I took that out, the amount of smoke that come out. And there's no other way of doing it. You've got to take it out on the road. So that's that anyway. Darren's been. One of my subscribers has been in, local guy. I'm not going to name no names. Dogs are having a barking match. And he's come in and booked a service. Again, there's another plus point for my channel, just showing people what happens. They can see for themselves. We had a good chat about main dealer and how we feel about them. So, there we go. Thank you. I'm not going to mention names because obviously he didn't mention if he did or didn't want his name mentioned. So therefore, so I'll just say thank you. I'll speak to you when your car comes in a couple of weeks. Appreciate that. Appreciate you coming to the garage. So right, on with the Kia. Got it all back together now. A bit of the old, just a little tip for you. WD-40, cracking stuff, waterproofs everything. So what I always do when I'm finished with these, because I did notice a little bit of moisture gets in, which is the problem with these cars with big overhanging areas on top of the engine. This cover goes back on. Well, as you can see, there's no rubber seals on it or nothing, so water gets on top of here and goes in. But what I have done, sprayed the WD-40 all over the ignition system, which is perfectly what you want. So now I've just got the cover to put back on, but it can be started. We'll fire it up. Oh, that's what else I've done. Normfest fuel additive, German quality. Fuel additive's gone in because it was looking a bit minging and black on those plugs. So what we'll do, obviously screen wash has been topped up, but the antifreeze all topped up. Before anybody says it's above the full, yes, because this area in here was empty, so it will actually drop when it runs. We'll fire it up. We'll just see if there's any lights on. I've cleared the codes off using the old scanner. And let's fire it up. See what it sounds like. There's the engine light down there. Engine light out. And that's as smooth as you like. And do you know what it is? It was really tappy when it come in. It's nowhere near as bad as what it was. Whether that's because the gap on the spark plugs was so big because they were worn out. Because believe it or not, noises from, do you realise like a diesel engine and stuff? A lot of the noise is all from the injectors, not the physical engine combustion. But on petrols, a lot of clicking and ticking are actually the sound of the spark from the spark plugs. And the gap on this against my face is absolutely huge, as you've seen, compared to the new ones. So it does actually sound like a completely different engine. Can't actually remember if I filmed this beforehand. I don't think I did, unfortunately, so you guys won't be able to tell the comparison. But that sounds spot on there now. We'll give it a little rev. Not too hard, obviously, because it's not really warm. Just check. Spot on, that is. Obviously, that fuel additive will take a little bit of time to go through. No smoke or nothing. But there we go. Sounds lovely. Job done. Light off. As you've seen, new coil pack on number 3, new spark plugs, oil topped up, antifreeze topped up because it was almost empty. What else have I done? Tyre pressures and a fuel additive gone in. Happy days. Not a big bill for a customer. You know what it is, just with them new spark plugs alone, never mind anything else, this car's got to drive a whole lot better. So I'll leave it there, guys. I'll catch you tomorrow on Thursday's vlog. Thanks for watching. Hello, welcome back to Thursday's vlog. I just thought I'd put this bit in before the screen goes off. As you know, it was panic yesterday because our scanner stopped working due to an update. And I've got to give this company their due. I messaged them and they said, yes, we know that there was a problem, because I was convinced that the machine, there's nothing wrong with the machine. As soon as you plug the dongle into the car, it was shutting the apps down. And there we go. When's that? I don't know if it gives a date, but that was not on there yesterday. So they've overnight, literally, release date, 1st of the 4th. Sorry, aye. No, that's the American way, obviously. 4th of the 1st. It's the backwards way. They've done this update and realised the fault. And there we go. So now we're back to having a scanner. Because it is frightening times, to be quite honest, and I don't like it. I like technology, but I don't like the fact that I can't do my job without that. And the complete truth behind it is, we can't. Like, I'll show you what's going on this at the minute. Brakes. Literally, you can't even change a set of rear brake pads now without that machine. Technically speaking, you can't even do a service. You can, but you need to be able to reset the service light. You can't, like that Kia yesterday. Fair enough, it was based on the engine, so I used a cheap scanner. Speaking of that, I need to speak to the guy, like I've said with that Mazda MX-5. When you change a battery now, just changing a battery, you need the scanner. And actually, you really do need to program batteries into new cars. You actually need to program a coding. You've got to code a new battery to the car. And again, you need the scanner. So unfortunately, you cannot do your job without one of these. But the good news is, it's up and running. I just wanted to quickly put that in there. So anyways, got this Megane, you've seen it a few times. In for discs and pads and an MOT. As you can see, it's the back surface of them really pitting in them, and there you can see that's a really, technically speaking, or even for an MOT, unless they're severely pitted and severely ground down, I think the other one's a bit worse. Borderline, you could probably pass and advise that, borderline, but the lady spent quite a lot of money on this car. And she just wants it sorted because really it's the last job up to now, apart from a window mechanism, that needs done on it. So yeah, not great cars, but not bad cars. I must say I like the definitive back end of the Mark 1s, but apart from the definitive back end, they were a bad car. Genuinely, the first ones were awful to work on. But I will say, nice to look at, nice to drive, but not so much. And with these Mark 2s, they've dulled them down a little bit. Whereas I will say the Laguna of this era, the Laguna 3, is a cracking looking car. And the Coupe, as we all know, I personally think is one of the best looking cars you can buy for the money. I would probably say it's the best looking car you can buy for the money you pay for it. I really do. And you've seen my Laguna Coupe Mark 3, but the normal Laguna hatchbacks in the States, I'll admit, I'm on the lookout. If one comes up, a diesel one, I'll have it. That okay. But you've just got to remember, don't get too excited. Don't spend a lot of money on them, because they will cost you a lot of money, and 9 times out of 10, they'll cost you more money than they're worth. And unfortunately, you'll either end up having to be uneconomical to repair it, or scrap it, or sell it for parts, which is the way most Renaults go. You walk around a scrapyard, And you'll see so many new Renaults and stuff like that, like somewhat like this. To be quite honest, you'd even see somewhat like what we've got, one of them. Like, most people wouldn't spend $2,000 getting a clutch. They'd just, if they hadn't spent much on the car, them things, you're going to see them piled up in the scrapyards, because when they start being worth, you know, $3,000, $2,000, who the hell's going to spend $2,000 on a clutch? People just, they wouldn't. So, yeah, that's it. There's quite a lot of other stuff going on that day. There's the Mondeo, maybe getting that back. There is a breakdown possibly coming in. I don't know if that is actually coming or what. I just got a message off my next door neighbour, little Peugeot, I forgot what they even called, 207s. Yeah, like the revised 206, 207. Some pulleys come off that, but it's like the TU3 engine. That's in my ZX. So fingers crossed, shouldn't be too complicated. But until we see it, we don't know. But the problem we've got is, if we get a dead car dropped off, I don't know if the camera picks it up, right from that path there, that's one hell of an incline. This here, this piece of concrete, that's like a full-on hill. All of this is an incline. You know, like, I don't know if it really does pick it up, but you can see with the level of the wall, this last bit here is just a killer. That's like a full-on, me and my dad just cannot manage. Even the little 107, you can't manage. It's a 3-man job minimum. And then when you're talking something like a Mondeo size, it's at least 5-6 people, to be quite honest. So that's the only problem we've got. If it just gets dumped and it's a complete non-runner, we're stuck. Hence, we don't take in many breakdowns. But it's funny, isn't it? Yesterday I had my neighbour's car in at one side of us, and today I've got my other neighbour's car in. Is that trying to tell us something? That something's going to go wrong with one of my cars? Hope not. But anyways, I'm going to leave that there. We're going to get on with them again. Nothing really of interest to state on the brakes on this. There was something else coming in. My dad was saying something else is coming in. I don't know what it is, but I'll update you as and when, because we did a long enough video yesterday. I'm not going to go over the top today, just to keep it at a sensible level. But now there's nothing interesting on these to speak of. Just a standard disc, probably fitted across the board. These will be just the same as what's fitted to a Renault Clio. And like I said, these little spring clips are about the only awkward part of the job, if you class that as awkward. And that's it. Oh, directional pads. Oh yeah, I'll show you these. These are the game, I will say. It's something I think they've just recently, I'm saying recently, this is a 60 plate car, 2010, but it's pointing down, and it shows you that they need to be pointing down for the inside pieces. So basically, the only difference is, and you tell me what difference this must make. That's where your piston goes, and there's a little cutout where the arrow is on this one, but not at the other side. But the piston goes, like, as you can see, like around. It's like the circular piece. That caliber, I think this one's all still built up here, but it's just, everybody's seen a brake. It's like a cylinder piston, just a circular. Well, you'll actually see the indent on the old pad down here. There you see. That's all it does. The piston goes around. So for some reason, this side of the piston's touching the metal on the pad, and that isn't. It's probably some development they've made to reduce squealing or something like that. But yeah, that's about as complicated as it gets, and I don't really think this car requires anything more. Now, just getting nicely on top of it. If you remember, we did the back shocker, which had burst front arms. Can't remember what we did to it now. Front arms, a spring or something. I think it had front arms. No, it was ball joints, I think, because the arms are a nightmare to come off. Aye, so it had the TRW ball joints. Oh, and track rod ends, that's what it was. I think it was on this side. There, new track rod end, 2 bottom ball joints, and a spring or a shocker, something like that. But it's alright, and I will say, these are okay. This one has got the K9K 1500 DCI in, but the beauty is, it's only £30 tax, but it's not got a DPF. And I've already shown you how to tell that. I think I can get the camera. See that plate there? Oh, that looks perfect. 0.9. It hasn't got the thing with the little dots in. 0.9. It's a bit of a poor reading that for a cat. But to be quite honest, you can just make that sticker disappear. And you're straight up to, well, with this being a 10 plate, it'll be 1.7 or 1.5, not 3.0. But still, it's 0.9. But it's got a cat. No DPF. Best of the lot. And these have a lovely little turbo whistle on them. The K9Ks with no DPF, they sound great. My Black Laguna, I don't know if I had that on the channel, that was the same. Cracking engines, but like I've said, I think they dulled down the style a little bit too much on them ones. making them just look too plasticky and boring for my opinion. But we'll leave it there. I'll get back to you as and when anything comes in or any developments happen. Quick update. Transit is away out on a test drive. New drop links on. Not really much more to say on that one. See what happens when it comes back. The Mondeo, I'm just about to take it for MOT. And I just did a few pre-checks. And this is why you should always do pre-checks. Sure enough, that was a problem. We had no screen wash. Pump was wearing away, no problem. Pressure was getting up to the pipe here, but not getting to the screen wash jets. Now I pulled back all of this, and it's this little bugger here, a little one-way valve. As you can see, it's got a direction arrow on it. And inside of there, the diaphragm is just knacked up. So what basically is, it's a one-way valve that only allows liquid to go that way, but the valve is jammed and it's not letting liquid through at all. So it's hitting this and stopping. To be honest, all that these do is it just means when you hit, it keeps pressure in the pipe. Therefore, when you hit the button to spray it, it's instant water. Without this in the system, you've got about a 1 or 2 second delay. Not really arsed. So I've just took it off, emergency anyways, because it needs to go for test, and just put a little bit of copper pipe in. Job done. Call it a bodge job, but to be quite honest, you guys tell me if there's any delay here. Switch it on, press the button, bang. Not even, I wouldn't even say half a second, a millisecond. So, perfectly working screen wash. Happy days. What I will say, typical Mondeo, perfect winter car. You've got your heated windscreen, which is a godsend. Then washer jets are heated, so when you've got your heated screens on, they defrost, godsend. Heated mirrors, only thing it hasn't got, heated seats. And they've also got an auxiliary heater in the water system, which means when you put the heating on in the car, it's got 3 little glow plugs, just the same as what goes in the engine, like an element, like a kettle, that heats the water system up. Perfect winter cars. The only other issue with this, what I'm going to do is clean the headlamps up quickly. The only other issue was, it might still be the same, I'm going to change it, is the back lights are made up of 3 bulbs, they're circular. It's on now. Basically, the backlights, it looks worse on camera than it is 1, 2, 3. There's basically 3 bits make up a circle, and it's the same on this side. But what happens is this little section of it wasn't on before, but it's only about a third, and as long as there's more than 50% of the bulb working, it's a pass. So if there was more than half, it's a fail. Less than half, it's a pass. I'm just going to bang a bulb in to save any shit. So there we go. Going to get that MOT'd, have a look what's going on with the van. More than likely catch up with us tomorrow. Hello and welcome back. Just want to quickly just show you this, because it's a bit unusual having 2 of the same car, bar 1 of them. There's 3 of them make a pack that they did. Toyota, Citroen and Peugeot. You'll probably guess what it is anyway. The sun is absolutely blinding and the wind is terrible, so you'll have to apologise for any wind noise. And to be honest, as soon as I put the camera on, you can see just that on there. It's not bright sun, it's behind the clouds, but it for some reason really reacts badly with the camera. So first up, got 2 of them in. There's the Citroen C1 and the Peugeot. I don't know why Peugeot had to change it. It used to be the 107, but I'm sure now it's the 108. Positive. It is. Citroen kept with the C1, and then you've got the Toyota Aygo, which kept with the Aygo. So why Peugeot had to be awkward and call it a 108 from a 107, who knows. But anyways, from the back, not a great deal of difference. You can see the light. I mean, I'll go back here. I think the back lights are slightly different in the front end, but bar that, yeah, obviously. So there, the Peugeot, I must say I prefer the Citroen on the back to the Peugeot. That's just personal preference. I do just prefer the more kind of bulbous lights. You guys may think differently. That's just my opinion on the back end of them. And it's pretty much the same on the front, actually. I do prefer the Citroen over the Peugeot. This is the Peugeot. They're both pretty much the same spec. With the running lights down there. You've all seen them before. Then obviously we'll go out to the Citroen. And I do actually prefer the Citroen. I think it's got a bit more of a mean looking front end. I do honestly. Obviously they've got the running lights vertical. And you've got the... Wait, I'm trying to work out the running lights, dip beam, main beam, side lights, indicator. So on these you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different lights. It's quite confusing when you're checking the lights, because 1 minute they're flashing, next minute your side lights on, next minute these on, next minute they're on. It's yeah, but yeah, I must say that again, the sun there is really for some reason reflecting badly on the phone. But yeah, I do prefer the front end of the Citroen. But when you open the bonnets, they're all pretty much the same thing, up to a certain year, mind. These are on the last few, 64. No, I think that's 65, that one. The change to the Peugeot Citroen engine. The 1.2 wet belt driven Citroen Peugeot engine, which is dreadful. Do not get one. Get these ones. I think this is a very, very last one with the Toyota engine in, 65-ish. I'm sure somewhere 16, 17, the move to the Citroen Peugeot engine. Just to show you, under the bonnet of this one, that's what you're looking for. That's your Toyota engine. And what you should see on the side of it, on that sticker, is 1KR. That's the Toyota number for it. And just in case you don't believe us, I know you do now, you know as well enough, but that's the filter I've just took out of the one outside, the silver one. That's been serviced at Peugeot, and I'm thinking this is actually the original. How many miles has that one got on? 41,000. That's probably got 41,000 on. So that's got a chance to have left the factory like that. But that's exactly how you would expect it to. It's a Toyota engine built in conjunction with Toyota. Clearly, it's going to have a Toyota filter. But there again, look at that. And these engines, by the way, they draw in hardly any air. So it takes a long, long time for a filter to get that dirty. When you look right into it, I think that genuinely is a 40,000 mile filter. Or if it isn't 40, it might have been changed at about 10,000 at the dealership or something like that. So I've got the new stuff to go in. They're nice and easy. I love these things. 4 clips. In fact, I want to switch it off. I'll just show you while I'm videoing. It's that good. They're just cracking little engines. If you abuse them, you can get time and chain rattle. But with the ones with the Citroen Peugeot engines in, you have to change that belt in a particular year and mileage, which is a wet belt, which is inside the engine, so it's just as big job as doing a chain. Like that van we've got outside, like I was telling you, the wet belts. These engines regularly change the oil, honestly. I did a video on one of these, an older one, like a 08 plate or something, and it had done 200,000 mile. You got to give them tribute, a little cheap city car to do 200,000 mile. So all you do is pop that out. Bearing in mind we're not using any tools here, just my hands. 4 clips. And you just lift these up, which you've got to give them a bit of a pull because they're on little press studs. And there you go. Job done, filter out. This has got a man one in. Easy as that. Pop them out, pop them in. Look on the side of the engine there, that little sensor, it's your crank sensor. 110mm plug off, there you go. To be honest, there is awkward jobs on them, I will say, like the alternators are a bit daft because they're rammed right down there. On top of all this, there's just no, like the actual body of the car's blocking you from them. There is some awkward jobs, and we all know, I don't know about these facelifted ones, but the originals had the heater fan motor in the dash, and it was steering column out and God knows what, dashboard out. I couldn't believe it when I went into an auto electrician shop and seen what he had out of that car to change a heater fan motor. So my top advice with these is, if you own a one, have the heaters on when required, but try not to just sit with them on number 1 all the time. Do you know what it is? Like in this car I was just in before, like this, just where they're just not required for any particular reason. Right there, you see the on 1. Just turn it off. Turn that radio off. So yeah, that's just a top tip. Do that over your ownership and you should get more use out the motor. Anyways, onto the actual cars, spec-wise. Now, this one in particular is an automatic, but they're a semi-automatic, and they're a very, very crude system. Unless you very, very, very desperately need an automatic, I would highly recommend going for the manual. It's not a full automatic, as you can see. It's got R, N, E, and M, but no park. So what it is, basically, is a full manual gearbox, but push that in. But it's all driven by an electronic unit. So basically, it's like a 5-year-old pressing the clutch and changing gear for you while you're driving. Honestly, that bad. They're just not a good system at all. Never have been from day one. Some are better than others, but as a whole, they're all dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. I mean, top end ones like in the Scenic out there, which is based on a dual clutch system, they're better, but they're very expensive, and you'll all have heard about the Ford power shifts. They run a bit more like a DSG, But as you know, it's like £2,000 to get them done. These ones though, they just run a 100% manual gearbox with a single clutch and an actuator on the clutch itself and an actuator changing the gears for you. And they're really, really, really not good. It really does spoil the car. But clearly some people require an automatic, and unfortunately in these you can't get a proper, what I call a slushmatic, a proper old school fluid driven automatic gearbox. They just don't come like that. And then the VW ups, what's the Skoda called? I don't even know. You know them little things. They are the worst ever. The same VAG makes such a good DSG gearbox. They make the worst ever semi-automatic gearbox. Dreadful. Whether or not that car had problems from the factory, but we do a 13 plate up, and my God, that thing is to the point of dangerous to drive. So anyways, that's a little bit on this in particular. I do like the black, and I do like the tinted windows at the back. I don't think that one's got that. Some of them come with cruise control, this one doesn't. And you get your nice colour screen on there, which I'll show you on the one that's running. Air conditioning. No, that's not me breaking wind, by the way. My top's rubbing on there. 12 volt, USB, AUX. You've got all the bits and bobs, all the good stuff in here. Electric mirrors, headlamp adjustment, traction control. You've got everything you need. Electric windows, obviously. Good little car. I'm not going to touch anything in there because obviously it's been worked on under the bonnet. So that's your C1. Personally for me, it would be the C1, or I would go for the badge. And that is badge snobbery, guys. I would much rather wake up every morning and see the Toyota badge on the car than seeing a Peugeot or Citroen. And I own, you know that, I have a ZX. I've got nothing against it, but I'm just not keen of new Citroens and Peugeots at all. Older ones, thumbs up, love them, own one. But nah. But I must say, what may sway is, I do like this front end of the Citroen. So, probably a C1, maybe the Igo. As for the Peugeot, it's exactly the same car, so I'm not for 1 minute going to say this is not as good car. If that was, if for example, a good example of one of these at a good price with good service history, I'll pick the Peugeot every day over a C1 or a Igo that hasn't been looked after. So I wouldn't, out of choice, buying it brand new from the factory. But as a used car, if this one was the better car to that one and I needed a one, it would be the Peugeot all day long, because it's the same car and I can live with it. I'm not saying it looks dreadful by any means. My personal preference, I prefer the look of the C1. That's all it is. But this one's a bit more of a lowly spec one because it's got wheel trims. This has got alloys, tinted windows. So maybe one of these with all the fog lights in and stuff like that, I may have a different opinion. If it was a different colour, I might pick the Peugeot. But this has got a bit of a cool feature, which I only just noticed when I sat in it. It's got the electric folding back roof. As you can see in the car, it's got the button up there and it all folds back. And I am definitely not going to touch it because I do not trust these things at all. So if you touch a button and the roof jams, definitely not. It takes a lot of explaining to do to a customer. So yeah, there's your little 108. I'll just quickly show you inside of this one. Again, I love them in 5-door because the 3 doors look exactly the same. They've got exactly the same window, but they just don't have this cut. So in my opinion, you just may as well have the 5-door. There is no point in having a 3-door. Not much space. That's just me driving it. So you've got to remember, they're just a 4-seater, but just bear in mind, clearly, it's really for short journeys only, backseat passengers, you know. The boots on them aren't actually that bad, I will say. That's not a bad size boot. A very high lip, but not a bad size boot. So yeah, what I might do, I might get a photograph of these two together and do a bit of a different one. Love or hate, C1 108, rather than a particular car. We'll see. I'll just quickly show you in here. I must admit, I think they've got quite a good quality feel of the interior. First thing I love is this exposed area, not painted, like unpainted. And I'm just wondering if this one in here has got the same, but with black. I can't remember. I didn't pay attention. Let's have a look. It has, yeah. So they all have it. So obviously this is black, so you get black here. So obviously if you had a bright yellow one, red one, I like that. I know it's what old cars used to have, but I love it when you've just got like the colour of the car, bare metal on the inside. I like that. I think it's just a good idea. So obviously this one hasn't got the electric mirrors. To be honest, it wouldn't bother us too much because at the end of the day, you're buying a city car, not a luxury car. Still get your traction, headlamp levelling, still get air conditioning. You still get all your USB, all the rest of it. And this is, I'm going to have to turn this down. There we go. You still got all this thing on here. I don't know if it's sat nav or anything, but it all connects to your phone, radio, DAB. It's got DAB. I would imagine Bluetooth for your phone, which it has. So yeah, do you know what it is? There's more spec in some of these little things than there is in top-end new cars. But yeah, I'll leave that there for now. Nice, I love that big clear clock. I'll leave that there for now, guys. I'll get a quick photograph on of Love or Hate, and I'll finish the video off later, due to it being a Friday. Just a quick update. The sun's in my face, you have to excuse that. I just want to show you underneath, because obviously before the other one I come off the lift at the time this one was going on. You've seen under these before, they're pretty much unchanged. So here we go. Stainless exhaust, have improved them a bit, I will say, but I'm just having a look here. I cannot see even myself with the sun. Yeah, they've definitely improved the exhaust systems on them, but they still make the flanges like that. Look at that big clump of rust I'm taking off. Still can't manage themselves. They've made like a high grade of steel, almost stainless steel, and then they make, I know they've got to make these out of a mild steel for reasons for manufacturing, but you'd think they would do something a bit better. But they are definitely better than the other ones. But then again, this car is 2015-14. I'm going off the old ones, which are coming up. Some of them on an 06 plate, you know, like 15-year-old. But again, lovely and simple. We grease the bottom of the shockers, wax oil them, because that's where they puff up and rot and leak. So we do them. The little joints on the brake pipes, like I keep telling you about Toyota, where it's all plastic coated, right up until that little bit there to there, then the rust and knack up, and then you've got to replace all that lovely pipe, but it's got nothing wrong with it. So coat them. Again, a nice simple setup, spring, 2-minute job, shockers, nice old-fashioned drums on the back, which rarely have any problems with. I've got ABS on. You can see the little bits of corrosion cutting in. Again, if I had one of these to myself, it would be land guarded immediately, and you'd probably have yourself a future-proof little car. We know the rot out on this area here where the axle goes on. That's been greased. We're doing all this prevention work, which these people who have these cars, especially these people, they keep their cars for a long time. I'm not sure how long they keep it for, but that's still being done as well. It's prevention, at the end of the day. As long as we can keep customers, I'll just switch this round. As long as we can make a customer keep their car, it's a better thing for us, because every time somebody gets a new car, most of our good customers listen to our advice and they tell them to shove the service plans, but a lot of people don't. So what we tend to find is, if we pull somebody's car to bits so much, or it starts costing them too much money, i.e. by us just greasing them bits up, keeping their brake pipes right, keeping them from rotting, they're going to keep the car. But when you start saying, it's rotten at the back, you might want to get rid of it next year, they'll get rid of it, they'll get a new car, and you'll never see them again for 3 years. So there's method behind what we do, as well as just doing a good job, what people pay for, which is annoying about these big dealerships where they don't do the work that people are paying for. So a bit more of that to demonstrate. The front subframes on these are problems for rotting, and they've been coated. It has been coated with wax oil, so that won't be rotten. Again, the same thing's been done with that one. Those are both in for service. As you can see there, nice man oil filter on it. The air filter's been done, same on the other one. But like I've said, this one's got just a basic manual gearbox with all that electrical governs up there. I don't know if you can see all those units sitting up there, sensors and stuff. Unfortunately, that is the downside to this one, what I will say. So that's that. On the other one is getting some tyres on, stake 4 tyres. So I'll leave that there. I'm going to get a quick photograph of them together while I'm on the Mondeo. That's past its MOT. That's now through till 2024, January 18th, I think. Didn't really have to do much. Sorted out the number plate lights, the bulb, that screen wash. That's it, to be honest. I'm going to tidy up a few little scabs just to keep them right. Like that one there, down there. It's absolutely solid, but I just don't like the look of it. So I'm going to grind it back and coat it with some colour matching paint. What I have done, if you remember, that scratch was serious here. Obviously you can see where it starts, but it got really bad here. I found some old touch-up pen. It was probably 10, 15-year-old and the paint was all gummy, but do you know what it is? I've just slapped a bit on. It's not great by any means, but from a distance, I'm going to cut that bit out. I think it's done a world of difference, that, mate, I will say. You wouldn't even, if you look at it closely, but it's a 20-year-old car. So yeah, so that's that, tidied that up. I'm not really going to do a great deal to it. What I am going to do, probably take it home the night, it's Friday, pick Charlie up, and use it over the weekend, put a few miles on it, and decide what I'm doing. But if, again, I'm going to do a separate video on it. If any of you guys are interested in it, let us know. It ain't perfect. I'll go through a few things with anybody who wants to contact us, but I don't know what you want for a 20-year-old car with a full MOT. It runs, it stops, it starts, it drives, it's safe. I've spent money on it, getting the sills sorted and everything. Aircon works. Interior is pretty much immaculate. I don't know if I'll be putting this one on to show you, because I might actually have the weekly vlog uploaded before anything else, but you've seen it outside before. It's immaculate. The only things I would say is this door here, if you deadlock it, it jams shut and you kind of get it open for weeks until it decides to open. So the only thing you've got to do, remember to do, is not press the lock button twice, or if you put the key in the door, don't turn it twice. As long as you just lock it normally, as in one click, it's fine. But if you accidentally hit the button twice or click the lock twice, it deadlocks it, and for some reason the deadlock doesn't unlock when you come to unlock it, which unfortunately means you cannot open the door from the inside or the outside. But just before anybody says, for the MOT, the door is opening from the inside and the outside at the time of test. But if I was to hit the lock button, the double lock button, it wouldn't open, because it is part of the MOT that the door must open from the inside, which it does. So there you go. I actually thought I'd put that in there as proof in case I accidentally hit the button, just to prove to you the door does work. And the only other thing is, it has only got 92,000 mile on, but it is a bit rattly, to be honest. The usual things, the belt, bottom crank pulley and the tensioner on it, they're what I class drumming, the drum a bit when they're running. It drums on a little bit. In the flywheel, it's got a little bit of chatter. But it does, the clutch doesn't slip. It's absolutely sound. It's got loads of power, but it's just the usual 20-year-old 2-litre TDCi Mondeo drumming away on the belt and the odd little bit of rattle on the flywheel. But you don't worry about them things as long as they're running. As long as they're running and driving, the clutches ain't slipping and all that, you just get on with it. You can spend the money, but what's the point? I personally would wait until the clutch fails, then do it. Why would you go ripping gearboxes out and everything to change a flywheel with a little bit of chatter? The one, my black Mondeo did the same, and that's done the same for flipping 30-odd thousand mile, and it's still driving fine. So there you go. So I'll leave that one there. I'm going to get a picture of these two cars together for love or hate, but I'll leave the video there, to be quite honest. I don't think there's anything. The van's gone. Is anything else getting dropped in? Nothing of interest. So I'll leave it there, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this week. I've probably rambled on a little bit too much, but if I don't do anything, what's the point? I mean, I could reduce the videos down, but then I would have to be rushing what I'm doing, and I wouldn't have time to say what I need to say and do what I need to do. And it's not all about cars. It's a bit chit-chat, and it's a bit fun. And I think that's what it's about. If it was cars with no banter, I don't know, I wouldn't watch it if it was me. I personally like to watch channels where people have a bit banter. And speaking about banter, I'm going to give somebody a shout out. I've never even messaged them yet or anything, but there's something it might not be your cup of tea, guys, so if you don't like it, that's fine. But have a look on YouTube and the Blot Outdoor Show. Blot Outdoor Show. It's a Geordie guy like myself, actually he's a Mackem, and he does wild camping. What does he call it again? Oh, I forgot. Stealth camping. He camps in the middle of roundabouts. He camps behind bins. He's camped out on a McDonald's drive-through. And his world-famous Wasky review, I have to admit, my partner Holly watched it, and she says, "What on earth are you watching? What is this crap?" And do you know what it is now? She's putting them on more than me, and he has written stitches. So he's very outspoken. He says it how it is. If you've seen him, leave a comment below. Probably the people from the northeast may have. He's just like me. He started with like a couple of hundred subscribers, and he's doing very, very well now. Give him a watch. If he's not for you, it's fine. You've got to have a bit of a sense of humour. But again, I like it because some of the camping videos and stuff, they're very, very serious. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to spend half an hour rubbing sticks together to get a fire. I'd sooner just use a lighter, kind of thing. He's a bit like, just says it how it is, does it how it is. And some of his pals who come along for some of the joint camping, I don't know, but for me and Holly to both sit there and be able to watch it and both be in stitches laughing at some of the things he says and does, he quite reminds me of myself, actually. He's very outspoken, a lot more outspoken than what I am actually on camera, in real life. But yeah, have a look, Blot Outdoors show on YouTube. Cracking guy. He's got a bit of a goatee beard. You'll see him. Great. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. And I'll catch you all next week. I've got a few videos to upload anyways, and the one of the Mondeo, the reveal video. I'm trying to think what's on next week. I've got absolutely loads on next week, guys. So I'm hoping I can get enough good footage in, but I need to get the work done next week. It's a busy week. So I'll catch you all then. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider hitting the like. Leave a comment. I am behind a little bit at the minute. I will get back to you. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe, and I'll catch you next week.